Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. We just crossed 1,200 subscribers the other day, and we are now pushing on to 1,210. Alright, so here on Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, I do reviews of the short fiction of Ray Bradbury. I'm working through a collection of 100 stories, and we are nearing the end of that project. We will, after that, move on to something else. But for now, it's back to Ray Bradbury. Today's short story review is The Wonderful Death of Dudley Stone. 25 years after Dudley Stone, a young but renowned author, sort of disappears, a group of men are debating what happened to him. Did he die? Is he alive? Is he dead? Is he still out there somewhere? One of the men, he believes he's alive. He tracks him down. He takes a train out to the country, and he meets Dudley Stone, who is alive and well. As it turns out, there's a tale to tell. Dudley Stone, 25 years earlier, was threatened with death by one of his childhood friends who was also an author. This author was pretty jealous of the success of his friend, and it wasn't completely unwarranted because even by Dudley Stone's admission, this guy wasn't very much less of an author than he was. He just had a little bit less luck, and sort of the stars didn't align quite right, and he never had the success that Mr. Dudley Stone had. So, faced with the death threat, Dudley Stone is secretly relieved. He actually uses it as an excuse to vow to never write and publish again. He actually gives away his 2 unfinished manuscripts, has them thrown into the sea or destroyed, and he never writes again. But he goes on, he lives a happy life, and eventually he is tracked down here, and for the first time, he tells the tale of why he quit writing. And by this point, he sees it as a gift because he lived many fruitful years. He tried many new things. He ran for office. He did all these wonderful things, had all of these adventures, all these things that he was only writing about before as a younger man. And had he not quit writing, he never would have actually had the opportunity to experience them. And much to his surprise, the man who went to find him and hear this story was somewhat relieved by this story and accepting of it, and no longer so eager to hear more of his writing. So, interesting little tale. I sort of love stories that are about writers. There's many of these throughout the literary canon and beyond, and this is a good one. I think it speaks first to the destructiveness of criticism. This man knows that, for better or worse, had he continued to write, the critics who built him up and who sort of lifted him above his friend, the other author, they would have eventually torn him down. And so he sort of dodged that bullet by giving up writing. It also speaks to the emotional toll of writing, realizing that in his case, he would have spent long hours writing and never really enjoying life, but also sort of that desire to maintain success and remain relevant would have eventually taken a toll on him, and he would not have had this life that he came to live. And it really speaks also to the problem of success at a young age. We see this everywhere in our own world. It's amazing how, on one hand, we talk about, hard work and experience get you success, but so many of our most successful people are very, very young. They were rewarded immensely sort of by the spontaneity of their youth, can sometimes create brilliant performances on the screen or on the page or even on the playing field. And then they spend the rest of their life trying to maintain that and get it back if they lose it. And sometimes we have people who do this, and we watch them self-destruct in the limelight, basically doing these irrational things, these bad things, these disturbing things, also selling themselves out, basically craving the limelight and trying to maintain their spotlight. On the other hand, we have the occasional person who, like Dudley Stone here, he opts out. He quits when he's on top while he's ahead, and he lives a long life. And we also see this too from time to time. Every once in a while, I fire up the computer, I turn on places like Deadline.com, and I realize that, hey, this once legendary author or screenwriter or actor or whoever, they're still alive, and they've only now just died. Like, I thought this person was gone 40 years ago, and it's interesting because it's weird. On one hand, you think, well, maybe they became a loser, they were no longer good enough, the establishment no longer wanted their services, but no, some of them, basically, they decide to go on and live normal lives and raise families and, well, normal, except for being fabulously rich. And they do that. And certainly, I think a much healthier way to live. But also, you can't help but feel that, like, you wonder what would be the result had they stayed active, and what great performances did we miss, what great novels did we miss, because of their absence. But on the other hand, also that preserves their legacy, and the legacy isn't spoiled by the sort of banality and the ruthlessness of the media and the critical world, and even more so by us, the audience, these days, because now every audience member has basically the exposure of a critic using the internet, and we're pretty ruthless people, you know. We destroy a lot of great stuff with our compulsion to attack and destroy our heroes rather than to lift them up. Or I think the best course of action would be, if you don't like what you're seeing, say your piece once and then move on. There's no pleasure, no satisfaction, I would say, real satisfaction in destroying your heroes. I think you get a sick thrill for a little while, but then you just basically descend into a pit of pettiness and despair, and that's where we are today as a world, on Twitter and the YouTube comment section, a lot of places like that. So don't do that. Move on, or continue going back and enjoying your favorites, because they're still locked in place. Even if they do a special edition, it can't be changed. It still exists. It's still in your memory, and that's the place where you ought to live, as opposed to being unhappy with the present. All right, guys. The Wonderful Death of Dudley Stone by Ray Bradbury. Good little tale. If you've not read this story, I highly recommend you looking it up. There's a lot to be gleaned from just a few short pages. So I'll be back in a couple of days with another Bradbury review or some other type of video. We are releasing videos 4 or 5 times a week, 6 times maybe. Lots of stuff, and maybe you like some of it, maybe you don't, but it covers a variety of topics, and we're going to keep doing it regardless. So, all right, guys, see you later.